Today, I'm going to be talking to you about how I made $50,000 per month by using DeFi back in 2021 and part of 2022. Now, most of you may be like, there's no way. And where did I start? Here's the craziest part. I started off with $15,000. Now, I did dollar cost average in, meaning I'd put in more and more money over that period of time. It probably equated to about $150,000 in additional deposits spread out. All right. This wasn't all in like one lump sum that I did it. And my portfolio grew to about $2.5 million. Now, how was I making actual passive income? How is that possible? I'm going to talk about this today so that you all can learn about what this new financial system called DeFi is all about and how you can start to participate in this. So you're going to want to pay attention. You're going to hit that like button as well, because we're about to bring you some absolute crazy alpha that can help you and your family make lots and lots of money over the next coming years. Now, why wasn't I making that money in 2023? Well, the rates that I was making wasn't that high, and I'm going to explain that to you here in a few minutes. Okay. So here's the way a liquidity pool works. Okay. And this is like the crux of peer-to-peer trading in DeFi. So when I'm making money, when I'm making this passive income, I'm actually making a yield off of people trading different cryptos. Now, if I have, my crypto in one crypto and in another crypto, and somebody decides they're going to trade that crypto, then I make a fee off it. But here's a really, really easy laid out example. Let's say, for instance, we've got Apple stock and we've got dollars. And the NASDAQ is the centralized exchange, which actually allows you to go and buy this. Now, you usually have to go through a broker. Sometimes that broker charges fees, but in almost every single instance, the centralized exchange does charge a fee for every single exchange between Apple and Cash and Cash and Apple. These liquidity providers, which are not us, these are liquidity providers like JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs. Every single time they make a trade between dollars and Apple and dollars, it means, or big hedge funds, they make a commission, meaning the NASDAQ, of anywhere between $10 and $150 per trade. Okay, now obviously that's on average. Okay, that's a pretty big range on average, but that's what I found online, and I've had to verify that from multiple different sources. But obviously, if there's huge ones, they could be in the thousands of dollars. Okay, but the bottom line is, every single time a trade is made, the NASDAQ is making money. And the liquidity providers like JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, the ones that have put the capital up, are also making money. But in those instances, you and I are not in that club. Okay. And so what ended up happening back in early 2020 was we had this thing called decentralized finance come out. And decentralized finance was like, hey, why can't we trade peer to peer in an organized manner, and we can provide liquidity? And every single time somebody trades, let's say the equivalent of Apple stock and dollars, the individual could make money. And essentially, those people are the ones that are putting money in to these liquidity pools, and we're now making that yield as opposed to the huge banks. Now, this is why there's been such an uproar in DeFi in regards to us making money, because the banks are like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Before, we were the only ones that could make this amount of money. You can't make this money. We make this money. Who told you you can do this? Well, the blockchain did. And we're starting to win this battle. Okay, with things like even Uniswap fighting the SEC back, ETH now not being a security, and all sorts of other cryptos that are going to be under the care of the CFTC under the FIT21 Act. I think that we're going to see some very, very golden days, and this is the time for you to take advantage. So we can see here that, again, this is where a lot of money is made, whether the market is going up or down. Okay, you obviously want it going up because the yield is going to be much higher. And here's why. So going back to 2020, 2021, and 2022, when I was making lots of money, there was lots of activity of buying and selling on these markets because everybody wanted to get into all of these DeFi coins, meme coins, and the liquidity pools were smaller. So the more that people came and bought and the smaller the pool, the more money I made. Okay. And sometimes I was making, 1,000%. Now, those didn't last for very long because people would start putting their money into that and it would dilute the amount of money that we would make. But there were times where I was making a steady 100 or 150% on the cryptos that I was putting up as collateral. And the coolest part about it is that every time those cryptos would go up, I also was making yield on those. Now, let me give you an example of something that I've actually found recently, and that's on Frax.finance. Now, because when I was in Frax back in 2020, 2021, 2022, when I was making all of this money, what I was doing was I was taking my salary, okay, which was more or less about $5,000 per month at that point in time, and I was putting all of that into yield farming, okay? And so I was living off of the dividends. So I was not living off of my salary. What I wanted to do was keep that passive income going, and I was living off of this. Now, here was my mistake. Number one, I locked my money up for too long. And I'm going to show you what you can do here with Frax, okay, to avoid that, because this market may not last forever. A lot of people are saying this market's going to last forever. I've been through enough markets. Now I've been doing this for 7 years, okay? I know not to believe that because crypto economies move in cycles. But I locked up my money for too long. And also, I didn't cash out because it was locked up. I didn't cash out in time, which, for those of you that follow me, I got a video right here, okay, that talks about momentum trading. All right. And momentum trading is what I'm really, really following. This is my take profit strategy. This is my way to get out and into the market using a guide. Not just buying the dip, bro. Trust me. That's what it's all about. It's all about buying the dip and hodling. That's bullshit. All right. That's how you can lose a lot of money and how I've lost a lot of money. I am so far ahead from where I was, and I've spent way more than I've actually invested in here, and I've got plenty left over. Okay. But this is a way that you can make some passive income. Now, how do we make some passive income? So, this is actually Frax. And this is the way I did it last time. It was in Frax, okay? And this is what we call a liquidity pool, okay? Right here, you can see Frax and W Frax ETH. Now, what is Frax? Frax is a stable coin, okay? Meaning there is this stable coin is worth $1 and it will not go below or above $1. It is pegged to the dollar and it is backed by USDC, which is again backed by dollars and bonds and all that stuff. And we're not going to go into that today, but maybe in another day. All right. And then we've got Frax ETH, which is backed by Ethereum. Okay. So what happens when I put these two together and people come to trade these two cryptos? I make a fee. And I think on this one, it's about 0.3%. Okay. Now, usually I will make, if I just put it into a liquidity pool, I will make my fees in two different fees. One is Frax and one is Frax ETH. Okay. Now, 0.3% of all the fees collective get divided by all the people who put money in to the liquidity pool. What I've done here, though, is I've put it into what's called a farm, a yield farm, okay? And this yield farm is actually paying me higher, but I'm not receiving my dividends or my payout in Frax or in Frax ETH. What am I receiving it in? In FXS. Now, FXS is Frax shares. This is the primary token inside of the Frax ecosystem that is more of the speculative token, but it also is the governance token where people can vote on proposals to say, hey, look, let's pay the Frax ETH pool more money using Frax because that's what they use. They have a certain amount of emissions of Frax that goes out. Now, why is Frax worth so much money? We have this thing called voting escrow Frax, which you can see here. And here is where they actually profit share with the Frax holders. And you can see here, there's a 5.31% APR that you earn in Frax. There is a buyback and they distribute this Frax to the VEFXS holders So this is another thing that actually gives Frax its value, which I really, really like. And Frax is doing tremendous stuff inside of their ecosystem to make, this literally, I mean, probably shouldn't call it the bank of the future, but man, there's not a lot that I can't do. I can do borrowing and lending. I can do swapping. I can do liquidity pools. It's awesome. It's awesome. And now they've even created their own blockchain called Fraxtal. And this is where I'm actually looking to put my money. So if you come here, let's go back to Frax, this particular liquidity pool. You can see here again, I'm making 23.09% per year. Now, if I lock this up, okay, I can actually earn more. So let's say I want to lock it up for 365 days. All right. Now, this gives me basically 1 times this amount. So this means that I would be receiving more or less on average if the APR stayed the same, okay, 43%. Now, this is an old school liquidity pool. It's not concentrated liquidity, which we'll talk about in another video. Okay. But this is an old school where the impermanent loss is not quite as impactful as a concentrated liquidity pool. And impermanent loss is a real thing. I'm going to do a video on impermanent loss so that people can refer back to it in the future. But essentially, what it means is if people start selling out of Frax into WETH, okay, I'm holding a little bit more of a bag Frax ETH, okay? And vice versa. If the price of Frax ETH goes down, people are selling out of that into Frax. I'm holding a bigger bag of Frax ETH, okay? So this is a way that you can lose money, but you have to understand the momentum of this. Right now, I believe the momentum of Ethereum is going to be up and to the right for the next 18 months. So I'm going to be putting this up as collateral for the next year. Now, if I'm doing that, what's happening is I'm actually going to make roughly around 46%. And if you take a look here, you can see the APR that it's been cranking out. It looks like a heart rate here. So it's ebbing and flowing. I don't know why this is, to be quite honest with you. But I'm going to be reaching out to everybody in Frax to see why it is ebbing and flowing. But it is due for another pump up. And then, it starts coming down over a few days and then it pumps up. So I don't know if this is when like the emissions get sent out in Frax, or there's a certain amount of emissions that get sent out or what, but this is still, this 23% can turn into 55%. And if I have 1 times that, that means I could be earning up to 100%. So it maybe averages out to like 60, 70%. So you have to be mindful of that. Now, these are also not fixed rate. If the new bear market comes tomorrow, don't be pointing your finger at me because it can happen. This is finance. Anything can happen. And I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. All right. So put on your big boy and big girl pants and let's make some money here. Now, what's another one that I'm actually looking at? Okay. Another one that I'm actually looking at is Frax FXS pool. Okay. And again, this is on Fraxtal. And the reason it's on Fraxtal is because the fees are way less, and in terms of like gas fees. All right. And you would use in this particular blockchain, you're going to want to use Frax ETH. Okay. I'm going to do a whole video on how to use Frax ETH so that everybody here knows how to do that. But Frax ETH, you need to bridge it over. It's really cool. It's super cheap. There's no slippage lost in here like you would in like Bungee or some of these other ones, okay, that you lose a little bit of money every single time you bridge to another blockchain. If you bridge from mainnet Ethereum to Fraxtal, you get 1-to-1, which is really cool in Ethereum. So you probably want to start with bridging some Frax ETH, which again is worth 1 Ethereum, and it is backed by Ethereum. And the coolest thing is you can see this on the blockchain. So what you're going to want to do though here is if you are looking into this, I'm not actually buying this based off of my momentum trading strategy, Frax, meaning until it hits about $5. Now, I personally think Frax is going to go up to $100. This APR could be actually way higher than I'm actually getting. Okay. Now, if I also put in 365 days, I'm going to get exactly the same 1 times that amount. So this could be up to 124% APR that I'm earning. So what I plan on doing over the next several months is I plan on dollar cost averaging into this, because at one point in time, again, I was making up to $50,000 per month on this, and it was beautiful. And not just that, but my investments grew. Now, they didn't grow quite as quickly as if I were to have invested just in Frax and hodled. And that's the risk, right? Because one side of this equation is Frax, which is a stable coin, and the other side of the equation is FXS, which is a volatile coin. Now, this is where, though, you can start to plan a little bit better and go, okay, hey, so my first goal is to get this up to about $8,000 per month so that it can cover some of my overhead in my household. And I can now start to breathe a little bit better, not have to use my salary and have maybe more of my salary to dollar cost average into my 801k. You're probably asking what an 801k is. I'm not going to tell you in this video. I'll tell you in another video. But this is really where I think that you can make some really, really nice passive income and basically have your own business if you have enough capital in it, and it will grow over time. Again, it'll grow a little bit more conservatively on the, DeFi risk scale. I would probably classify this if 5 was super risky, like leverage trading over like 4x on like Bitcoin. All right. That would be super risky for me. All right. Unless you're like some pro, don't try that because you can get liquidated very, very quickly. Okay. I would probably put this one at a 2. Okay, in my opinion. And so this is something that I think that you could really, really count on and make some really, really nice money here and have that nice flow of passive income coming in. If you want to learn more about how to do this, I just taught a class in detail, setting it up step by step. There is a link down below for a 7-day free trial. Come on board. I want to see you guys in class. I've already done it once. Multiple of my students have done it. And I want to show you exactly how you can start making some real nice cash flow to supplement your income here ASAP. All right, everybody. See you on the next video. And if you haven't checked out my video on momentum trading, check it out. It's popping up right now. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.